Guys, welcome to another exciting episode of TFL Talkin Trucks. And on this episode, we're doing some big things because it's not just about an all-new vehicle. It's basically about launching or relaunching a brand. And we're going to learn everything there is to know about the 2022 GMC Hummer electric truck. Yep. And to start us off, I have the guy behind the design, Rich Schier, here on the show to talk about design and kind of the inspiration, the vision, and the vehicle in general. Hello, Rich.
Hey, hi. How are you? Good to see you.
Well, thanks for joining. And can you please introduce yourself just a little briefly?
Yes. Hi, my name is Rich Schier. I am the director of design for the exterior and the interior of the Hummer EV. So, yep, I'm the guy.
Thank you for joining TFL Talkin Trucks podcast. If you love pickup trucks or big full-size SUVs, if you love trailering, towing, and going off-road, this is the right place to be. Together, we can make this podcast the most popular ever. All right, dude. Well, I haven't been able to be next to the vehicle, so on this episode, first let's start with, you're relaunching the brand, so no pressure, okay?
No pressure at all. No expectations, right?
So tell me about that a little bit. I mean, where was your inspiration from? Like, how did you kind of approach this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like this one for us, and this, I think one of the other exciting parts of this program was at the speed in which we went. I think you're going to probably hear from a lot of my partners, and they'll share some stories along the way that the design process, the whole development process went very, very quickly. It was just last year in 2019, about springtime, where Mark Royce, Mary Barr kind of came to us and said, "Hey, we've got a vision. We want to do this EV truck, and oh, by the way, we want to do a super truck. We want to go all in and really do something beyond anybody's expectations. And oh, by the way, guys, we're going to do it, and we're going to badge it Hummer EV, right?" And so we're like, "Oh my gosh, like it's a clean sheet of paper." Which as a designer is like your favorite thing ever, right? You get to start at zero, and you get to put the wheelbase where you need it, the track where you need it, put people where you need to have them, and try to work on putting together the best proportions to kind of convey the design message that you want. And of course, I think when you say Hummer, right, obviously there's a silhouette and a profile, and it's perfect what you have behind you there. It kind of shows like we need a profile and a presence that clearly says Hummer before you even see any of the badging or even get anywhere close to it. So it has to be identifiable. But on the other side, there's the brand side of it where you really want to kind of take some of the great capabilities of the past. It was a great off-road vehicle, but now that it's an EV, we have a chance to kind of relaunch it with a whole new mindset. The fact that it's battery electric, the performance and the capabilities are off the charts, right? So the fact of the matter is, at the end, boy, the acceleration is going to take your breath away. And so those are the sorts of things that the previous, namesake did not have, right? So this is fun and exciting for us. And then, of course, for us, we wanted to really showcase technology. We wanted this thing to also, hey, it's an EV. There's a mindset with EVs that there's more tech involved. Obviously, the powertrain is more tech. But then all the visual design cues that you can bring out of it, for instance, the lighting, when you finally get a chance to see the lighting, and you saw that sneak peek back in the Super Bowl back in February, and that's it. It's kind of this really super cool, it looks like you're starting up your computer or an iPhone. The lighting around the vehicle has a choreography and a theatrics to it. Again, much beyond anything that would have been, I'll call it the previous brand, would have been very simple and really was just about function, not necessarily about a little bit of entertainment, and certainly not with the use of technology. And then I think once you get into the interior and you see the screens, the cluster's a large cluster, the ICS or the infotainment cluster is very big and interactive. And then, of course, what's displayed on those screens, I think, again, really showcase off technology. There's a bit of cinema that comes along with it. I think that stuff is really where you're going to see a whole different language for Hummer, for the Hummer EV. And I think that's the part about it is I think what's going to get people really excited about its future.
I gotcha. And then they said, have it to us by tomorrow, right?
Exactly. Yesterday, actually, the phrase was yesterday. I need it yesterday.
Oh,
So yeah, that's kind of a fun statement that we use. We're in the performance studio, so the fun thing is that about the same time I came into the performance studio, which is like sacred ground, right? This is where Corvettes and Camaros come from, and coming in here, it is a high performance team, and I'm telling you, it's the kind of team that they're like, you just can't really challenge them enough. So it's like, okay, you want to do that? Sure. You want to do more? Sure. How fast do you want it? Great, let's do it. And so there's just a group of people that have a mentality that we're just going to do it no matter what. There isn't any folks that are going to throw a chart in front of you and say, well, these are the reasons why you can't. We just kind of throw that stuff aside and just say, yeah, we're just going to get there. We're going to go, go as fast as we can. And do it, of course, like put the vision out in front of you and try to hit the vision. And I think at the end, I think not only did we hit the vision, but I think we even went beyond. And I think we kind of get back and look at it. I think we went beyond even what we thought we would get to when we started. So
okay.
Very excited about it.
So tell me a little bit more about the size of the vehicle. How, if you were to put it next to, I don't know, a Silverado.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
What dimensions did they give you?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, the dimensions we kind of created on the fly, right? So the brand, the architecture, the what, all came about at the same time. We had very simple seating platforms to try to figure out how to arrange occupants, where they fit on the wheelbase. But essentially in silhouette, right, just like the image behind you, that would fit inside like a GMC AT4 or a Silverado Trail Boss, the lifted truck. So the vehicle is inside of that. So of course the front overhang's a little bit shorter. The bed is it's a 5-foot bed, so it's got a little bit shorter bed than most pickup trucks, right? And so it fits within that envelope. So that's a great size reference in side view. And then when you kind of walk around 3/4 view in front, now you're going to get to see track that, oh my gosh, when I was back working on Silverado, I would have loved, right? So it's got 3 inches of side plush track. So it's really like face of tires, much like a Raptor, right? Raptor pulls the track way out, the body's sucked in, and that really gives you a great stance, lots of great capability. It plants the vehicle, gives the body a lot of drama from door surface out to tire surface. So again, it's like if you kind of think about AT4 or Raptor, it fits within that envelope.
All right, and how big is the tire? What
35s. The tires are 35s, right? So on our new light duty GM trucks, they're 33s. These are 35s. The cool part, and I know all your fans on your website will love, is that we architected the vehicle to 37s. So if a customer is really interested in, and they're true hardcore off-roaders and they want to do those sorts of things, you can throw 37s on it, and you're not beating fenders, and you're not doing any of that. You're not cutting the vehicle. It fits. I think the other cool part about it is, again, like another one of those, holy cow, yep, this is what we're going to do. There's an air suspension, and from the vehicle curb position, we can lower it down an inch, and we can also raise it up several inches. So there's even travel within the ride of the vehicle. And then there's even a mode, kind of an attract mode, that'll even expand the vehicle up even higher to kind of get around obstacles that you'll find in the most hardcore conditions. But in ride mode, in driving mode, you kind of have like a 3-inch variation on where you want to drive the vehicle, depending on what situation. So again, all those different attributes, trying to package 37s around batteries, around structure, it's not easy. But at the end of the day, it's capable of that.
Okay, and then let's move towards the bed a little bit.
Yep.
Also discuss some of the cool features, inside and out. So is the bed kind of goes into the cab of the vehicle like an Avalanche would be, or how does that work?
It has, it's much like our old Avalanche, right? There is no bed cut. Like, so with a pickup truck, right, you've got a cab and you've got a bed and a cut line. Much like an Avalanche, where it's really the quarter is integrated to the body side. It's very similar. It's actually, this thing is actually a body frame integral, or much like you would do a crossover or an SUV on top of a chassis. So the bed and the box sides are integrated. The bed ends up being a stamped steel bed, inner and outer, which was great because, unlike a rolled form bed, we get a chance to really put a lot of design elements in and make it more customizable so you can roll in bikes, tie downs, and the bed sides are kind of flared out so you get more space side to side. And so there's a lot more design integrated, kind of much like the Carbon Pro bed that you see on the GMC Sierra. So it kind of has a flavor like that.
Gotcha. And then let's switch a little bit towards the cab.
Yep.
It's removable roof panels. Is
That's
that right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, by the way, right? We did a super truck, and then we said, you know what? I think we're going to make it convertible. We're going to take the roof panels off, and that was fun. I mean, the spirit of this was we just kind of wanted to go beyond, and we really want to develop. We know that in this new EV world, it's a totally different driving sensation. And early on, we thought, my gosh, if you you roll the windows down, you take the roof panels off, like what a different experience you're going to get. And honestly, I've yet to experience it yet. The prototypes are still being developed. I can't wait for my first trip out to Milford to actually get a chance to drive it with the body on the chassis and actually experience it. But the theory is, man, there's 4 separate panels. So if you kind of think about like a current C8 where you can take the full targa off, but now they're individual, right? Because it's much bigger. All 4 of those panels will fit in the front compartment. So you open up the big kind of clamshell hood and you can put all the roofs inside of that. And then there's actually in the front between driver and passenger, there's a T-bar. The front is removable so you can get a complete cross car, from, basically where your side rail would be to the side rail. Those are all gone. So the space on the front compartment is completely open and convertible. So again, it's this experience of like, you're driving almost in a silent mode and you just get to experience things around you, much like, driving a motorcycle, down a 2-track. You just get to experience what's happening around you in a different way. And then the rear compartment, you can take those panels off as well. Those store, and so the rear drop glass open down. And so again, you get a really a complete different experience than what I would say against as opposed to most of the pickup trucks, right?
So is there also a pass between the bed and the cab, or it's
just a drop glass. So there actually is a bulkhead behind the seat. That's fixed, unlike our old Avalanche where you can pull that out. It's just a drop glass. So you can pass something through if you bring the glass down, but there is that structure behind the seats that kind of ties everything together.
Gotcha. And it's also going to be available as an SUV.
That's right.
Structure, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, so tell me a little bit, is the SUV launching at the same time or is it a little bit later? Or
It is not. So I'm not privy to kind of share a lot of the details. You guys have seen the sneak peek of the SUV as well. But yeah, more fun facts than the SUV.
Okay, cool. I wanted to ask you about kind of the specs, but I know it's more engineering, right?
Yeah.
So the battery sizes, I mean, you guys are claiming 1,000 horsepower.
That's right.
3 seconds, 0 to 60. All this, on 35s.
Yeah.
It's pretty spectacular.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the interior. Is it like a 5-person configuration?
Yes,
and also the technology you talked about. Tell me.
Yeah. The seating position is much like a GMC Sierra or a Chevrolet Silverado. Occupants between, space between and the width of the console in between. So the packaging is much like that in kind of, I'll call it a plan view footprint. Chair height is a little bit lower than a current Silverado or Sierra. So that's actually, you kind of see the side glass is a little bit squattier than a true pickup truck. So it kind of gives that kind of Hummer attitude. And that's kind of where we took some of the dimension. You can imagine the challenge of trying to take a double pack of batteries and stick it underneath the pickup truck. And if you just added up all those dimensions, my God, this thing would be way too tall. So it certainly wouldn't give you, I'll call it a design-friendly proportion. So there's things that we did to try to carve up that body side so it didn't get too tall. But essentially inside, the spaciousness is going to feel much like our current full-size pickup trucks. the significant differences is how much open air you're going to get. Even with the Targa, or the roof panels on, they're glass. You can see outside of them, and so a lot more light gets inside. Obviously, the A pillars are much more upright, so the windshield is much closer to you. The instrument panel is shorter, so the space, even though there is similarities to our pickup trucks, it feels very different. But I think it's very comfortable, very spacious, very, very open. It's a very different feeling to it. So I think you can only really describe it until you sit in it pretty soon, I'm sure.
Cool. So what about the console and the dash? You said there's a lot of screens. Can you
Yes.
describe that a little bit?
Yeah, we've got, so what you're going to see in the interior is that I would say the interior is probably, I would say, the biggest leap forward from say the previous gen Hummer. And what we try to do is certainly really kind of dial up more premium, right? Like a tick of luxe, but the luxe is really on the technical side. And you'll see a big cluster in front of the steering wheel. The cluster and the cluster graphics, they're inspired. There's kind of a lunar lander or a lunar motif that you're going to find all throughout the interior. And it's kind of interesting. We had a lot of fun playing back and forth with kind of the idea of kind of landing this thing on the moon, and this is the next GM's lunar rover. And we've got all these little details and Easter eggs that kind of speak to that. But the idea was to kind of get an aesthetic that was way out there and way different, and kind of really reinvent it aesthetically, especially on the interior. And of course, the technology, the big cluster, the ICS or the infotainment system in the center. It's big, square. You've got all these like very manual toggles. So there's kind of this neat play between manual toggles, which is really a truck thing, and then of course just the interaction with the touch screens, which to me really speaks to kind of the new tech that's kind of really come at us here very quickly. The interior, what you're going to see for this. For the Edition 1, it's kind of high contrast, so it's sky cool gray, very light on black, so it's very fashion. It's a fashionable statement. And then we've got all these kind of touches of a metallic finish. It's a tech bronze. It's kind of a very neutral bronze, so it's a finish that you really just haven't seen in interiors. And kind of the play between the light, the dark, and the metallic finish, it feels like like certainly nothing else in our interior portfolio. And I'm not sure if there's really anything out there that feels quite like it. The console is big and wide. We've got a big phone charger that's covered. The cup holders, of course. Even in the future, you need cups, for crying out loud. But it's covered because it's got to be luxe, and it's got to be what you want to be able to cover all that crap. There's an ETRS, and then there's a ride mode select in the console. So again, very tactile, right where you need them to be. And again, I think once you see the screens, the cluster, how the cluster and the ICS work together, I think there's a lot of almost like a cinema quality to it that I think is just going to really blow you away. It's kind of powered by some of the latest video game engines, so it's one of the first things that we've done that's really kind of taken the next leap in clusters and ICS, and it's really fun. I was, again, even though we were doing this program fast, we said, yep, we're doing it anyway, because we just really not just want to get people excited, we want to blow them away.
So is there also like all the camera systems and all of the sensors?
There's plenty of camera systems. There's actually, part of, and when you get a chance to talk to Al Oppenheiser, he's going to give you all the great specs, but they're like part of the big 5 tech that he'll share with you. There's underbody cameras. And so, as you know, you guys are out there doing some really cool stuff at Moab, and you're kind of going up these kind of rock inclines. And there's times where you're like looking over the hood of your vehicle, you can't see anything, right? Mm-hmm. And you need spotters to help you. But now we've got underbody chassis cameras. And so when you can't see the horizon anymore, you can see, the images will come up on the ICS, and then you could see where you're going. And again, there's going to be just a whole suite of cameras to kind of help you navigate through. And then there's some really great features from the powertrain that kind of get you around obstacles, up, down, side to side, all these crazy things. I haven't experienced all that stuff yet at Moab in this vehicle yet. I can't wait. I usually just like to go out there and just get stuck and bang up my fenders and break tail lamps,
Yeah, obviously, I mean, we're not getting into the technicals, but it's a four-wheel drive vehicle, and you
Yep.
already showed kind of the crab mode.
Yep.
So it's actually so four-wheel steering.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. If you're making, sharp turns, the rear tires are going to go opposite of the front to kind of, get your turn radius much smaller. Again, big wheels, big tires, long wheelbase. The wheelbase has got to get around the battery packs, and really, if you didn't do that, the turn circles would be very difficult, hard to maneuver. So the rear steer helps you do that, and of course, that same rear steer helps you the opposite way. So where you can kind of turn the steering wheel one direction, the rear tires will go that same direction. Got about 10 degrees of steer in the rear, and to kind of get you into some maneuvers that kind of get you unstuck or around some obstacles. Again, I've yet to experience it personally. I know our performance guys out at Milford, they're just having a blast working this all out. It sounds just fantastic. And again, it's kind of this new school electric motor tech that you kind of put the power wherever you want it and wherever you need it.
So what about some of the kind of a trucky aspects of it, like loading the bed with stuff or towing a trailer?
Yep.
What are some of the features there?
Well, it's certainly going to have all the cameras that you've seen throughout the GM family. It does have the multi-pro gate, so like the other, the GMC Sierras, you'll have the multi-pro gate, which is just fantastic for, everything from loading to just plain fun and tailgating, right? The vehicle's got, short front overhang, lots of approach angle. It's high ground clearance. And again, it's like pick a number because you get to put it where you want. And the skid plates are all functional. Got big steel skid plates up front, and there's a full underbody. So the off-road variant here for Edition 1 has a full underbody skid plate. So the batteries are well protected, and it's all designed. Everything is designed. My team got involved with the A-arms front and rear. We got involved with all the battery, making sure that anything that customer sees from top to bottom, that it came through the design group. Even the wheel well liners, like when you see inside the wheel well liners, they're molded and there's design elements in it, and it looks very functional and purposeful. We didn't use kind of the material wheel liners, because we know that, that gets all full of mud and it's just not as easy to clean as molded parts. So every part of this thing has been touched by a designer, and it's been fun. And we had to introduce ourselves to some of our engineering partners that normally don't, the chassis guys that don't normally know who the heck we are, but we had fun with them. So again, even though the project went fast, everything was touched from top to bottom. And really the mentality was much like a C8. Like it's got to be perfect from front to back, top to bottom.
And in the back, I'm assuming there's a hitch, so you can attach.
That's right. Yep. There's a trailer hitch. Yep. You've got your electrical connection right next to the hitch, as you'd expect. We've got big kind of the Hummer D-ring tow hooks front and rear, just like you'd expect. And I think the team is still working out, the tow specs. So I'm not ready to share that, or our team's ready to share that, but more to come on that. But yeah, I think it's going to do everything that folks need it to do.
And also tell me a little bit more about the front storage space. So where the normal engine would be, right?
Right. Yep.
So-called like a frunk or a front trunk.
Yep.
You said you can store some panels, roof panels in there.
Yep.
But tell me a little bit more some of the features inside.
Well, yeah, inside it's really, and it gives the customers really a lot of flexibility. One of the things that we wanted to do is no matter what, if you're out on a great drive and you wanted to pull the roofs off, we wanted to make sure you had an area to put the roof. Now, certainly if a customer wants to take the roofs off and leave them in the garage, sure, they can do that. But we're going to have a couple different options for stowing the roofs. We've got very simple kind of leather bags, and we've got also kind of these cases that will lock into that front compartment that you can get through our accessories group. And it even makes it, more sturdy and complete and more safe inside that front. But of course you can, and there's tie downs front and rear, so you can strap everything in. If you just want to throw all your groceries in there, I mean, that's always one of the things that with a truck, right? Where's your lockable storage, outside of the passenger compartment? And for the most part, you really don't have that in a traditional full size truck. With the frunk, you do have that. It's designed, it's purposely engineered and designed so that it will fit all four roof panels, but customers are gonna. I'll tell you, when that front part comes open, I swear you can crawl in there. It's pretty exciting to see. And then all around the sides of it, there's these sight shields. Everything from the headlamps back to the cowl have all been closed out and cleaned up. So all the nasties have been covered up. So it's a complete design statement.
What's your favorite part? What was your favorite part about the truck? I know it's a hard question sometimes.
My favorite part, my gosh, it's really, really difficult to say. I mean, I love the overall challenge to do this. To me, this was kind of from a design perspective, a dream opportunity. Get to architect something quick. Obviously, it's something that's going to be extremely capable. Reinvent the brand. To me, change perceptions. It's altogether, it's a dream job. For me, I've been an exterior designer my whole career here at GM. This is the first time I had a chance to jump on the interior. So, it was fun because I got to ask a lot of the dumb questions and just say, forget that old stuff. We're going to do it this way. So I got to say, it was really fun to work on the interior, to do the tops. I've worked on convertibles. I was part of the Camaro team that worked on convertibles. This is a totally different system. So again, even for a 25-year plus veteran, it gave me an opportunity to really learn and do things, try things and experiment design-wise that I hadn't tried before and had an opportunity to execute. So to me, I love doing new things, and this kind of put it all together. So it's everything. It's a fun process.
Awesome. For your time. Appreciate it, and hope to see you soon and actually drive the Hummer very soon.
Oh yeah. Take care. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks. All right, guys, so we talked about the design. We took a deep dive into the interior and the exterior, but now I have Todd Hubbard from the GMC Hummer electric truck team to talk a little bit more about the kind of the technical details and suspension and off-road bits. Todd, thanks for joining.
Oh, glad to be here, Andre. So we'll start it out here in the 2022 GMC Hummer EV. It's the first electric addition to GMC's lineup. It's highly capable. It's bold. It's precisely crafted. I mean, it is a super truck in all regards. And in my area expertise is the performance. Specifically the chassis and the off-road.
Okay.
So we'll focus on that area, but in general, it 1,000 horsepower, best in class. The 11,500 pound-feet of torque at the wheels. 3 motors. One configuration the first year be the pickup truck. 35-inch tires, air suspension, active ride control. 4-wheel steer, lockers, 13 inches of travel, a lot of adjustability in the height of the suspension. It's got crazy off-road performance. There's no compromise, though. The truck will be a dream on-road. There's a lot of enablers in the chassis and the suspension to just making it all around just a badass truck.
Very cool. So, and it's coming at the end of 2021, correct?
It'll be roughly a year and a little bit from right now. Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, it sounds really exciting. So you said one configuration. Is that like the maximum battery, maximum power, or how does that work?
Yeah, we're launching with kind of the model with all the bells and whistles per se. So okay. It's the 3-motor version. So that's where the horsepower and the torque numbers are coming from. And it'll come only with the one chassis configuration. 35-inch mud terrain tires developed specifically for the vehicle. 18-inch wheels.
So what's the brand on the tires?
It's a Goodyear Wrangler Wilderness MT. It's a 305/70 R18.
Okay.
So it's a DuraGuard tire developed specifically for OEs. So it has a good mix of off-road capability, but keeping in mind all the other targets we like to hit: wet performance, snow performance, obviously good traction characteristics for stopping distance, and important on this vehicle also the rolling resistance to help enable the range. So
okay.
it's
So can we briefly go over kind of the chassis itself, right? So it's a brand new vehicle, brand new chassis, obviously
Yes.
electric.
Yes.
And then the chassis is kind of this skateboard orientation, correct?
correct. It is what we'd call as more of a unibody or a body frame integral. The res or the battery is integral into the center of the vehicle. Then the propulsion systems and the suspension are attached at each end. It's SLA, fully independent, front and rear.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's 13 inches of travel, front and rear. So it's a beast.
So the 3-motor one is it 2 motors in the back and 1 in the front?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So it'll be 2 motors in the back, and we're able to do some really cool things with that configuration. We're going to have a virtual locker. So it'll function just like an e-locker would, except it's happening all through electronics. But basically, if you had one rear wheel in the air, it would be matching its speed to the wheel on the ground with all the torque. So it works just like a locker. Some of the other cool things we can do, though, is we have full torque vectoring. So you'll be able to really maximize performance, linear and non-linear performance, because of the availability of the torque vectoring that we're working on too. So,
And then the front, can it also mimic a locker? Or tell me a little bit more about the front. How does that work?
okay, so the front is a single motor, and it has a differential, and that differential will have an e-locker. So that is more like there's nothing conventional about this truck, but that's probably the most conventional way of, it does have an e-locker in the front. So we are capable of, putting down a lot of torque to one wheel. And just like that type of configuration would normally work.
So it could be very precise, right? I mean, you can allocate the torque.
Yeah, it is a full-time all-wheel drive. It is constantly searching for the best way to put torque down. And the watts to freedom mode, it's 0 to 60 in around 3 seconds in watts to freedom mode. So that's a lot.
Quick. So
it's pretty fast.
How heavy of the truck are we talking about? I mean, because I noticed in some of the images, first of all, you have 8 lug hubs, which to me, in my mind, when I saw that at first in the teasers, I was like, oh, it could be almost like a heavier duty truck. Can you tell me about a little bit of the weight of the vehicle?
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to look at it. We're not quite ready to share our mass information. A lot of our work to date has come from a new, and really the C8 did a lot of work the way we're doing it, but we're doing a lot of our analysis right now without hardware, all computer-aided engineering. So we are starting to build some of our first prototype vehicles right now, but we're just not quite ready to share the weight information. That'll be forthcoming in a while. But I think the way you're thinking of it, and by your observation of the wheels, is it's in that territory at more of a, between a light duty and a heavy duty vehicle.
Okay, that makes sense. In 3 seconds, I mean that's hyper supercar territory. I mean, that's quick.
And what's so cool about it is it's not just a number. There's a whole there's a mode called watts to freedom that you enter, and the sound system, the user interface, it's all preparing you almost like a roller coaster ride for this awesome acceleration. So we're conditioning the electronics. We lower the vehicle 2 inches to get the CG lower, and all this is happening with this incredible buildup of sight and sound. You put your foot on the brake, you put your foot on the gas, you release your foot from the brake, and it takes off like a rocket. So it's like I said, I love the off-road performance, but it's a no compromise from every attribute of the vehicle, including on-road performance.
So are there also like an off-road specific mode or several modes?
Yes, we have a driver mode control, and that part is similar to what you've seen in our light duty pickup and utilities. We have a normal setting, a terrain mode setting, which would be for lower speed, rock crawling, or just more technical trails. We have a higher speed off-road, and then we also have tow haul. Mm-hmm. And then Watts to Freedom is kind of like a mode, but it's not unlocked via the knob. There's another sequence to get into Watts to Freedom, but that brings up an interesting point, and one of the important features I forgot to tell you about, which I think you kind of know about from the crab walk mode, is we have a rear axle that steers too.
Yeah.
So that is goes again. It's enabling all sorts of off-road performance because we're able to have a turn circle diameter similar to a Chevy Sonic Premier. I mean, we're talking. I think it's around. I've got some numbers I don't quite have committed to memory, but I think it's around. I want to say it's around 37 feet diameter.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty remarkable. Right. Yeah, that's cool. So in the crab mode, I mean, so you can move diagonally. So the wheels can turn opposite each other, front to back, or same.
So in normal terrain mode, they would actually turn opposite each other at low speeds, and that would reduce your turn circle and really give you that maneuverability that, you know how some trails are. They're tight, right? This is a fairly good sized vehicle, and to enable it to get down these trails, that effectively makes it seem a lot smaller than it is. And so that happens. You can select, you can turn it off, but in terrain mode, four-wheel steer is enabled, and at low speed, the wheels would be turning in the opposite direction. And then if you, between a rock and a hard place and you needed to move diagonally, you can turn on crab walk mode, and you'll get 10 degrees of steering front and rear to move the truck diagonally. So
I've been there very recently. I've been between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, there's on the Rubicon Trail, there's this part of it's called the Big Sluice. And there's a section halfway down, there's a boulder the size of a house, and there's a tree. And inevitably, you're always wedged right in the middle of this. And I can just picture now how this crab mode, you would just like, it would make it so easy. You know, we spent a lot of time there trying to get vehicles through, but I think that's a case where I'm really excited to try that feature out. So,
well, I would like to be there with you.
Okay.
Eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, maneuverability is big. You know, as you know, we're based in Colorado, and in Colorado there are a lot of tight mountain terrain, and to have maneuverability obviously is a huge thing. So we talked about a little bit tires, travel of the suspension. Tell me about shocks and how does that work?
So the shocks are active ride control. They're a real-time damping. We have different modes set up, different calibrations for the shocks. And coupled with that is the four-corner air suspension. So through the various modes, you have 8 inches of adjustability in height. Of that 13 inches of total travel, from normal ride height, we have a ingress-egress mode, which is 2 inches lower. We have an aero mode, which is 1 inch lower from normal ride height. And then for terrain mode, when you enter that mode, we raise the truck 2 inches. And then we have an upcoming mode, which we call extract mode, which from normal ride height goes 6 inches, basically to almost the end of travel.
Holy cow. Okay.
And so that would, you can picture it. You're at that ledge. You just need that 1 more inch of ground clearance. Well, in this truck, you hit extract mode and you get 6 inches. And it actually takes our approach angle to over 50 degrees. Yikes. In extract mode. So it gives you...
What's the maximum ground clearance, I guess?
So the maximum ground clearance is 16 inches.
In that mode?
So our minimum ground clearance of anything under body would be 16 inches when you're in extract mode. So it gives you A lot of ground clearance too.
That's pretty huge. Yeah. That's
Yes. So the terrain mode, like I think we started down this path initially. That's our low speed kind of rock crawling technical trail. Gives you 2 inches of increased ride height from normal, and then you have the ability in that mode to go another 4 inches, 6 inches from normal ride height, but you're already up to 2 inches to go into this extract mode. Mm-hmm. And we have unique, the dampers, the shock absorbers, we have unique calibration. So the goal there is to have a more relaxed ride to kind of give you that kind of plush feel when you're going down the trail. You don't want to be so tight where you get a lot of head toss and you're just not that comfortable. So we have a specific mode that's designed to give you some ride comfort on that rough road. These dampers, we have some technology, kind of like an electronic bump stop. We have a position sensitive feature that we're able to, based on travel, come in and ramp up a whole lot of damping. So to protect you, if you know, we've all done it, you don't see that hole, you drop into it. Well, the truck, as the wheel travels farther in travel, it will come in with, the damper will come in with a ton of control to give you that protection so you don't bottom out or top out. So that's kind of how we're set up in terrain mode. Coupled that with, you know, you have the rear steering and the availability of crab mode. We also give you some lighter steering efforts for better maneuverability in tight places. So that's kind of what we do in that terrain mode. Mm-hmm. The off-road mode, which is another mode, that's our high-speed desert running mode. Okay. So we don't do anything with the ride height. You can go up if you want, but we like to be kind of centered in the travel for the off-road mode. And the strategy with the dampers is a little different. We do allow a real nice hydraulic, you know, just a nice feel for undulating terrain, but we come in much quicker with that end stop control and the higher damping forces to control the body motions on bigger obstacles, events, jumps, whatever. So, and that's kind of the strategy for the off-road mode. We also do give you a little bit better, not better, a little different steering cal in that. We try to, you know, sometimes in chatter bump braking and there's certain feedback you get from the wheel. We try to isolate the driver from that a little bit in that off-road mode also.
Okay, so, that's pretty interesting. And the shock technology, is that yours? Is it DSSV or what? So
it's a ZF CDC damper.
Okay.
So,
and it's active. So you're saying so you have different calibrations.
Yes.
But it also reacts to what's happening. Or?
Yes, exactly. It is tied in. It knows. It has sensors on both the front and rear axle, so it's monitoring the wheel velocity and the wheel position. So based on the velocity of the wheel, and also as you get farther into travel, the position, it is constantly making adjustments to, if you don't need all that damping force, it's lower to give you ride comfort, but as soon as you start accelerating the wheel, it comes in, it clamps down. It's trying to keep a really flat body, mm-hmm. prevent roll and pitch, and then also for the bigger events, just to give you a lot of protection at the end of travel. So. Okay,
gotcha.
So fully electronic.
And you mentioned Rubicon. Are you targeting this vehicle to actually do the Rubicon, or how come you brought the Rubicon trail in?
So yes, we are. We are looking at class 4 trails. Okay. So Moab, you would check off some Moab Rim, Poison Spider, Hell's Revenge, you know, the tougher trails there. And mm-hmm. then also we definitely plan to take it to Rubicon, and we think it's going to do really well there. It's a large vehicle, but we think with the features we have, the incredible dimensions in terms of approach, departure, breakover, all the features we have, we think it's going to do quite well at Rubicon too.
And I would imagine, so the center of gravity, a lot of your weight is in the middle because of the battery, right?
Correct.
So is there like a side tilt? Is there a benefit for that? I mean, can you traverse?
Yeah.
Like hills?
Yeah. So it's not so much it being in the middle, although that helps. it's not only in the middle, it's really low in the chassis. So the CG is very, very low compared to a conventional truck. So the Hummer EV benefits tremendously from that low CG. It does allow you to feel more comfortable on side slopes and similar to ups and downs and things like that. But just, I think really you're going to feel that on a side slope where that just feels a lot more planted, and the low CG height is really the enabler there through the architecture.
I gotcha. Do you have any of the specs on like how big the battery, the maximum range, charging times? Do you have some of those numbers?
Yeah, I think Tara is going to provide you a spec sheet on those. I can tell you we do have DC fast charging. We're looking at 100 miles of range in 10 minutes.
Okay.
In terms of charging. It is a 24 double stacked Ultium battery propulsion system. So it's our new battery technology, which is again a complete, I could kind of look at the story of this Hummer EV is like a marathon. We're just starting out. So there's all sorts of information out there. So that's kind of the high, the top end of the specs there for the battery, but it does have fast charging capabilities. It is right now it's 100 miles capability, 100 miles in 10 minutes, and it's a 24 pack battery. So
okay, I'm sure I can put some more specs as we get them.
Yes,
into the story,
and I think that's coming quickly here. So.
Because everybody wants to know, how far can I go on a total charge, right? Because when you're doing, off-roading, some of it can be energy intensive, right?
Sure.
You are going up hills, you're traversing this terrain. So I think that's on a lot of people's mind is how, what the total range is. And eventually we'll get to, how is it affected by off-roading? Because it depends on the trail, right?
Sure. So I think we're targeting around 350 miles.
Okay.
And a cool enabler to what you're talking about is we're actually we're going to be integrating some mapping from Polaris. We're going to be taking their off-road maps and we're going to be integrating them into our navigation system. So the cool thing about that is you'll be able to plan a route from your house to wherever you're going and back. It'll include charging locations, and it's going to do it'll give you some idea of what you're going to be capable of doing, both not only from an on-road perspective, but it'll also get you on the trail and back. So that's kind of a new area for us working with Polaris on this mapping software. So that's going to be pretty cool too. It'll help with some of the things you're talking about.
Yeah. Are you using some of the other items from that software where it's like vehicle to vehicle communication or, like breadcrumbs where you can kind of see where you're going? Or
I'm not totally sure on the entire capability of that software, but we'll Tara and I will work on getting you some more information about that. That's a fairly new development, so there's going to be more information coming out about that too. But at this point, we're really excited to at least share the mapping and helping out with trip planning and charging and just getting rid of some of that potential anxiety for an EV. So
very, very cool. So you're saying, you've done a lot of your development kind of virtually, right, with your latest systems?
Yes.
I was going to ask you, how does it drive? But I don't know if you've driven it yet.
So I've driven it on we have what we call a driver in the loop. It's a simulator, and I've driven it virtually.
Okay.
So a new experience for me. I will have my development truck here at the end of the year to really start hammering out all the. So I think all that work we've done, computer, it's enabling us to go fast, super fast with this program. It's enabling us to, when we get our development vehicles, to be at a much higher fidelity than we normally would. So it's really cutting out a lot of that development time because we're when we get our trucks, we're going to be at a much better starting position than we have on prior programs. So huge enabler. And I forgot about a couple other cool features.
Yes.
Off-road, we have 18 cameras.
What?
18.
Okay.
And 2 of them are under body. We have a forward-facing camera, just rear of the front axle. You can see wheel to wheel in front of the truck. It has underneath.
Yeah,
so you
that's
can
awesome.
it's kind of what we're calling almost like a virtual spotter. You know how when you start going up, all you see is sky. Well, you'll be able to look at the screen and see the underbody image of what you want or don't want to hit. So from that position, we look forward between the front axles in front of the vehicle, and then we have a rear-facing camera that allows you to see all the way back to the rear edge of the truck. So you'll have they're protected with they have protected lenses, and if they get dirty, they have washers, so you can actually wash the camera lenses. Well, if you go through some mud or something, you can squirt them off and still use them. So it's kind of I think it's going to be a really cool feature. There's a lot of times you're out by yourself, and this will just be an aid to get you, more comfortably and a little more security to get farther out there. So
where did you put the other 16 cameras?
That's part of, I don't know where they're all at. I'm sure they're in the mirrors, the fascia, the roof, everywhere. They're pretty awesome.
Is there some plan? Do you know, is this your area of expertise? I'm not sure, but like self-driving modes or a highway mode, what is going on there?
So, and Tara's correcting me, there's 16 or 18 views. There may not be that many cameras. I got too excited there. But we do have Super Cruise with a new feature. So we're going to have lane change. Automatic lane change with Super Cruise.
Okay.
So that will be standard on Edition 1. So the first year they'll all come with the Super Cruise with the lane change feature. So that's complete hands off. It'll calculate your distance, allow you to execute the pass and come back in. And Super Cruise now they've increased to over 200,000 miles of roadway now. So that technology is continue to grow, and the Hummer EV will be the first of many GM vehicles with the lane passing feature. So that will also be on the vehicle.
That's cool. So
yeah.
And so people understand. So 200,000 miles is basically pre-mapped areas, divided highway, where this computer system is able to drive the vehicle, like you're saying, on the highway, but the driver is still paying attention.
Yeah, that's kind of the hallmark of the GM system is that, it does require attentive driver. That's why we feel so strongly about, Mary's vision of zero congestion, zero emissions, zero crashes. That's part of the hallmark of how GM is operating. So that's the zero crashes part of that. So definitely.
So when you said, 18 views or camera views, it makes a lot of sense because I was just in the Sierra AT4, right?
Yes.
And I think it's got like 15 or 16 views. But it makes sense that, you're extending that capability with the system.
Yes. You'll love the half shafts. The half shafts are about the diameter of a beer can, and
really?
I don't think you can pick them up with one hand. They are the biggest, baddest half shafts I've ever seen on a truck. And
this is going from the motors to the wheel to the front.
Okay. Yeah, they're a ball spline half shaft.
Okay.
So all the plunging is done in the shaft, which makes them a lot stronger. You're not trying to do as much with those joints, which are already moving, for suspension travel and for steering. So the plunge is actually in the shaft, but they've got to weigh 50 pounds a piece. I mean, they are awesome. So
and the motors are obviously as inboard as possible, so to speak.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So and that allows you to travel with your wheel.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep. Couple other things that's really nice. We have virtual auxiliary switches available. So if you do add a freezer or another air compressor or whatever, you'll be able to access all that through a virtual switch on the IP. So it's just allows you, an overlander or someone that's really into off-road, lights, whatever they're adding, you won't have to add a bunch of switches in your vehicle. You build it because the interior is it's stunning. So you'll be able to keep the precise, all the beautiful aesthetic parts of the interior and just use these virtual switches to add more functionality to your truck. So
that's cool. And sorry, I was just losing my train of thought a little bit because there's too many features you're throwing at me.
It's crazy. I'm telling you, it's awesome.
You're throwing a little bit too much at me. I guess you have, so what I really wanted to touch on, I know we have limited time, but do you have like any power export capability? You mentioned an air compressor. Can you plug in, power your campsite or something? Something like that?
Yes. You have your, I'm not exactly sure on all that capability, but there is a 12-volt system in that truck too that would operate, lights and if you wanted to plug in a cooler or something at the campsite, yes, you have that capability. What's nice about that is the battery, the main res, the battery for propulsion, you go in 100 miles, you're going to be able to come out 100 miles too, so you're not going to deplete under, normal ambient temperatures. When you get hot and cold, the battery has to do some conditioning, but under normal conditions, your range is very predictable. So you'll be able to go in, and if it took you 50 miles of range, you're going to come out, and as long as you have around that, that same range, you're going to be able to get out. So when you're at the campsite, you want to power some stuff up, that's fine. That's all going to be happening with the 12-volt part of the battery system. It doesn't affect the propulsion system at all. So that's a really, for an overlander or someone that's going and staying, maybe setting up camp, it's really gives you some more assurance. So
okay. And also there's some towing capability. Do you have any numbers on that, or
it does have towing capability, no numbers yet. That kind of goes along with the mass of the vehicle. We're still fine-tuning some of that, but we'll be ready to share that, before, it'll be a while, but yeah, we're definitely does have towing capability. So
and obviously no price yet, or is there a price?
There is a price. Tara, can I say price? Okay. So the price, I got to go to my cheat sheet too. I don't want to screw it up. She's probably going to tell me. It's $112,595.
$112,595.
Yep.
Okay. And that's for the first edition, all the features, maximum power.
The edition 1, everything we talked about is on edition 1. It's all the bells and whistles. We're coming out kind of atypical for us. It's not like the base and then, the add-on after that. We're coming out with everything. The truck is loaded with all the capability from edition 1. So,
okay.
I didn't even talk. I don't know, when you talked to Rich, did you get into the infinity roof and all that?
Well, we talked about the removable panels.
Okay.
Kind of folding the back glass, right?
Yeah, the back glass is power.
Okay.
It's a power back glass. There's 4 roof panels, and then there's between the driver and passenger in the front seat, that eye bar is removable. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a target top for the front passengers and a T-top for the rear passengers.
Okay.
The power trunk, the frunk, when that opens, you can stow everything in the frunk. So if it's raining in the morning, you got the roof panels in, sun comes out, you take them out, you've got a place to store them, which is really cool too. But it'll go full open canopy. So
yeah, that's important because some other vehicles, like we have a Jeep Gladiator, there's not usually a good solution to store those panels. know, when you actually are taking them off and going off road.
Yep. So that's a really cool feature.
Yeah, and the tailgate, you have your kind of multiple fold tailgate.
Yep, the Pro Gate is included. It operates just like the current pickups do.
GMC.
But that isn't current GMC pickups, and that is included.
Very cool. So what was the most challenging part of developing this? I mean, or is it all of it?
I think the speed at which we did it was exciting, exhilarating, and exhausting. We've been clean sheet 18 months ago, and we're building our test vehicles now, and we're going to sell it in a year. I've been at GM for 30 years. This is awesome. This is just incredible, the speed at which we're able to. We're not cutting corners. We're just smarter. We're pushing things into the CAE realm. We're not requiring as much hardware, and we're more efficient with the hardware when we get it, because we've done all this work up front. So it's super exciting. I can't wait to get my development truck and really start to, fine tune it, and how we like to, just make everything perfect. So that's what I'm really excited to start doing here shortly.
Awesome, Todd. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, it was great.
I know you have to go back to work.
In
this truck, so I appreciate it, and of course, I can't wait to drive it. So
yeah,
it'll be
great. Well, have a great weekend, and it was great talking to you, Andre.
All right, thank you, Todd.
Yep.